This is KFSM-TV, Channel 5, Fort Smith.
Last night's audition for the Arkansas Motion Picture Association attracted 338 would-be actors of all sizes, shapes, styles, and ages. The line began at the Fayetteville Open Channel office and stretched around the block, people eagerly waiting to pay their $5 to join the AMPA and cut a 30-second audition. Not even sudden thunderstorms could drive them away. Unfortunately, there was some question as to what exactly everyone was auditioning for. Inside Open Channel, Joe Glass from the Arkansas Industrial Development Commission insisted that the AMPA tapes would be screened by the people who were casting the blue and the gray. But out in the street, there were frequent, unsolicited warnings that the tryouts were a fraud, that AMPA had nothing to do with the movie. But the warnings, like the rain, didn't have much effect.
We were hoping to get in the movie, but unfortunately we don't know if this is affiliated with it or not. We've had people telling us it is, and it isn't, and we're still waiting in line to pay the $5. You know, that's where we are.
Well, we had hoped to get in the pictures. Also, we're not very bright.
We'll just see how it goes, and there's always a slim chance, and I like taking chances.
In Fayetteville, this is Steve Voorhees reporting for the News People. One reporter commented that he hadn't seen crowds this big at most governor's press conferences, and Mr. Peck himself seemed surprised at the number of cameras, reporters, and onlookers who turned out to see him. Gregory Peck is in Northwest Arkansas, of course, to play the role of Abraham Lincoln in the CBS TV movie The Blue and the Gray. According to Peck, it takes 4 hours in makeup each morning to transform him into the image of Lincoln, a process that begins at 5 a.m. But he doesn't seem to mind. Peck says he's always admired Lincoln, that in a sense he's been researching this part for the past 50 years.
The opportunity to play Abe Lincoln in a Civil War story is very close to my heart. This is a labor of love for me. That's why I'm doing it. They're paying me.
Last night's press conference came after a day spent filming the Gettysburg Address on a farm near Fayetteville. Peck said that scene wasn't in the original script for the movie, but he suggested that the speech would make a good scene, and the producers were persuaded. The actor tactfully called it a meeting of the minds. In Fayetteville, this is Steve Voorhees reporting for the News People. When the Union Army decided to try using lighter-than-air balloons for military reconnaissance, aerial warfare was still a pretty new idea. And it was an idea that had some trouble getting off the ground. Ultimately, the Army did have some success using the balloons to spot enemy positions and direct artillery fire, but bright yellow balloons made a tempting target for enemy snipers and cannons, and that was just the most obvious danger. The Blue and the Gray script makes good use of the hazards of ballooning. In the sequence being shot this week, one character finds himself launched on a reconnaissance mission, only to have his balloon break loose in the wind and drift over to the enemy camp. Not exactly an ideal mission. But if aerial warfare had its difficulties during the Civil War, putting the balloon episode on film is really complicated. It took more than 2 hours to set up just one shot this morning, a bird's eye view of the balloon being launched from the Union camp. The shot required the services of an industrial crane and a gondola rigged up to hold a camera and a two-man crew. After instructions from director Andrew McLaughlin, the unit was hoisted into the sky where it hung suspended like, well, sort of like a reconnaissance balloon. Of course, the camera crew had at least one advantage over Civil War balloonists. While the cameramen were shooting, no one was shooting back. In the Ozark National Forest west of Fayetteville, this is Steve Voorhees reporting for the News People.
Columbia Pictures Television was on location in Prairie Grove today. Both the production itself and the Civil War story it depicts are nearing completion. Lee's Surrender at Appomattox is scheduled for shooting next week, but today it was a duel, as Stacy Keach explains.
Well, it's a dueling scene between John, my friend John, and some Prussian officers who have come to visit his girlfriend's wife, actually, his wife's to-be father, Senator Reynolds, played by Robert Vaughn, and they have an altercation at this party. And John gets in a fight with him, and they decide they're going to come out and, at dawn and have a duel, the way honorable gentlemen do things in those days. And that's basically the scene that you've been seeing. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to see what actually happens in the scene, but it's not what you would call a traditional duel. I think I'm being called. I'll be back.
Okay. Before they leave Arkansas, the $50,000 to $60,000 spent daily by the filmmakers will have a ripple effect on the state's economy, totaling some $17 million before all is said and done. Co-producer Hugh Benson said today that the miniseries was progressing very well.
We've got 9 more days of shooting. It is still as splendid as it was 3 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago, 11 weeks ago. It's just marvelous to be here, and we have made this picture within 2 days of the allotted time, and that's because of the people of Arkansas in this area of northwest Arkansas.
From Prairie Grove, Mike Thomas reporting for the News People.
Sure, it looks easy, but being an extra in a movie like The Blue and the Gray isn't all action and glamour. The workday starts at 5 a.m. in a Springdale warehouse as sleepy-eyed civilians become soldiers in a ragtag Confederate army. Then, dressed and on location, the next step is makeup, a quick professional application of dirt and sweat. Then everyone gets in line again, this time waiting to be covered with dust. Another line leads to wardrobe accessories. Authentically cold and dirty, the extras then wait for their call to the set. Excitement is obviously building. On the set, there's one last line as the extras get their guns and other paraphernalia. Then it's time to work. So far, Columbia Pictures has hired some 2,000 local people to work as extras, and many of them have gone through all this 5 or 10 times. Why did they do it?
I guess it's the assignment. You know, seeing everybody like a different star every day.
I was unemployed. I was looking for a job when I found this one, and I thought this would be a good shot in the interim.
I feel like it's probably a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I got interested in it when my wife wanted to come down and be in the movies, and there aren't any women's parts, but I came down with her, and I ended up doing all the work.
It's just a lot of fun, going through rivers and climbing hills and chasing people and being chased by people. Just a lot of fun.
Extras are the buck privates of the movie world. The movie makers refer to them as background. But everyone who works on a movie is important. Every job is necessary. The extras just prove that they also serve who stand and wait. In Fayetteville, this is Steve Voorhees reporting for the News People. One of the most amazing things about the filming of The Blue and the Gray was that the set was open every day to anyone who wanted to watch a movie being made. It was a bonanza for autograph hunters, of course, but if you were patient and waited around long enough, you also got to see some things that never made it into the movie. Open sets are not the rule for a Hollywood production. In this case, though, the policy was a perfect example of the cooperation between the movie makers and the people of Northwest Arkansas. Floyd Bohannon acted as liaison between the film company and the community. He looked back on that experience recently and described the feeling that seemed to affect everyone involved with the movie.
Well, this is one thing that I kept hearing time and time again from the Columbia people, the actors, the actresses, the crew, everyone that was here in the area just literally fell in love with the Arkansas people because of the personalities. Everybody was offering to help. They just could not do enough actually to make those people feel at home. Good old Southern hospitality, and they all loved it.
If you asked one of the movie people to define this brand of hospitality, he could probably do it in 2 words: Prairie Grove. The movie crew spent most of the month of October filming in and around the town of Prairie Grove, at the Battlefield Park where the Battle of Bull Run was staged, and at other more remote locations like this one, which provided a setting for parts of the Wilderness Campaign. Nothing like The Blue and the Gray had ever happened to Prairie Grove, and from all reports, the 3,500 or so people who live there loved every minute of it. So on the night of October 22nd, it seemed perfectly natural for the townspeople to invite the Hollywood folks over to the high school gym just to say thank you.
I can't emphasize enough the cooperative spirit, the good neighbor policy of these people. You know, they've been in our town, and naturally, when you bring in something like a Barnum and Bailey circus with all these things and everything, there's going to be a little bit of inconvenience. Our people as a whole have not minded this at all. It's been exciting, and they've been good to us, and we just want to say thank you.
CBS Vice President Bob Markel was suitably impressed.
It's quite marvelous and very, very touching, as everybody said here. And I know it sounds like we say this all over, we don't. I've never been to such a warm place and such a cooperative place, and it reflects also on the group making the picture. The warmth comes from both sides.
It would hardly be fair to give the impression that making The Blue and the Gray was one long party, not when the average workday was at least 12 hours long. And fall weather seemed to hit the Ozarks a little early last year, so working conditions weren't always ideal. Still, the spirit of cooperation and the festive mood never faded. And on the last day of shooting, when the producers wanted to throw a lunchtime wrap party, it was no surprise that the Prairie Grove High School Band was part of that celebration.
Every good thing has to come to an end. We all realize that, but shooting The Blue and the Gray here in Northwest Arkansas has been a really special experience for me, and I hope that I'm sure it'll show on the screen, because there's been so much camaraderie and friendship and new friends and help, and it all mixed up to make one great big beautiful pie.
Celebration didn't exactly end there. The party picked up again as if it had never paused the night The Blue and the Gray made its world premiere in Northwest Arkansas. The premiere was held in Springdale. It began on September 17th and lasted a whole week, and it was the brainchild of the Northwest Arkansas Film Commission. It took cooperation from Columbia Pictures, CBS, the Malco Theaters, as well as a slew of local contributors to bring it off. But as it turned out, the premiere made a perfect end to this whole movie adventure. The festivities got started with a pre-screening banquet. 4 of the main actors in the film came back to Northwest Arkansas to represent the cast. The producers and director were on hand, along with several CBS executives. There were TV crews and officials from local CBS affiliates from as far away as Oklahoma City and as close as Fort Smith. Even Governor Frank White made an appearance. But the banquet was just the beginning. Next came a motorcade through Springdale to the theater, where a good-sized crowd had gathered to see just what a world premiere might involve. They weren't disappointed. Each celebrity made his entrance to the cheers of the crowd and the roar of a 21-gun salute. The premiere was, without a doubt, a success. Some 600 people saw part 1 of the film that first night, and in the course of the week, more than 4,000 saw the entire movie, all free of charge. In a press conference the morning after the Friday night premiere, Stacy Keach told reporters again just how much he enjoyed making The Blue and the Gray in Arkansas, comparing it with another location he had worked on this year.
As you know, the people who we were with here were directly involved and actually participated, so you got a much deeper sense, I think, of involvement here. We were sort of we were continually the outsiders there, whereas here we became a member, just another member of the family.
It's ironic if you think about it. The Blue and the Gray is a movie about the worst conflict this nation has ever seen, but it was made in a spirit of cooperation and hospitality. The war divided families and friends, north and south, black and white. The movie brought people together. It's hard to imagine 2 places in America with less in common than Arkansas and Hollywood, but when the people from these places got together, everything worked out fine. A movie about Civil War became an experience in diplomacy and friendship.
While many towns across Northwest Arkansas get attention in HBO's 3rd season of True Detective, one town might be feeling a little left out. The town of West Finger is the center of the show, and many believe the made-up town is West Fork. Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce President Steve Clark says to Northwest Arkansas natives, the town name in the show caused a bit of confusion.
For us, it seems a little odd because we know that's not the name of the town that we're looking at, where we've all walked the streets and know. To the world, West Finger is just what the town's always been named because they don't know anything about West Fork.
The Sugar Shack owner, Brandon Spurlock, says no one in West Fork was too disappointed.
Oh, I don't think anybody has any hard feelings. Yeah, it's just been a good joke to at least get everybody talking around town about something, so it's been fun.
A joke is exactly what Spurlock says the name swap has been. He featured this post on the Sugar Shack's Facebook page saying, "Just another beautiful night in this town we call home," with the hashtag, "What is a West Finger?" He says the community has taken the mistaken identity lightly and is just proud to be featured.
Oh, we love our town. It's an awesome town. We were excited to see it featured and excited to see the school in there and everything like that. And it was just exciting for everybody around here. It was cool. It was really cool.
This is the Lincoln American Legion post, but in the show it serves as the West Finger Town Hall. This building, along with many others across Northwest Arkansas, are featured in Season 3 of True Detective. During the filming of the show, over 500 jobs were created, and it generated over $38 million in expenditures. Clark says the show will just continue to put the area on the map.
It's like dropping a pebble, into a lake, and it just keeps rippling out and just ripple, 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 ripple. That's what this does. True Detective, that story will be seen by literally millions and millions of people.
Spurlock says even though the show caused some laughs in the West Fork community, everyone is thankful for the economic benefits it brought. In West Fork, covering news where you live, Juliana Clipson, 5 News.
It's a huge benefit for the state. You look at the jobs that came along with it. I think we had 500 jobs at the peak that were impacted by this, and just tens upon tens of millions of dollars that were pumped into the economy right here in Northwest Arkansas.
The arts can be an economic boon to our state, and so this created jobs. It utilized our creative talent.
For 10 months, Northwest Arkansas turned into HBO headquarters. All it took was a little planning and a push from creator Nick Pizzolatto.
When I started thinking about the story for Season 3, my love for the area just sort of suggested it as a possible setting. I think the landscape's extraordinary, it's very evocative, very mysterious.
I think the word is out now that the fact that, hey, Arkansas is a great place to come and film a production like this.
Arkansas is made for filming. We literally came here with nothing and set up an entire film studio in about a month.
And you see that impact from top to bottom in and around the community.
That's just part of the extraordinary diversity of our economy in Arkansas. And then to be able to see Hollywood come to Arkansas tonight.
It's amazing. You talk to an Uber driver and say, "Oh yeah, I picked up one of the guys from Hollywood who flew in and took him out there. Super nice." Or you go to a restaurant like, "Oh, we had some of the crew in here last night and they had a big dinner, had a great time." You see that impact in the community.
The Salvation Army here in Fayetteville ended up with clothes and props from True Detective once filming wrapped up. Now they've already sold the clothes, but fans will soon get the opportunity to buy furniture and other props used in the show.
It's just a little piece of Hollywood, a little piece of Arkansas history, whether it's a coat or the bedding or something that was on the shelf.
Salvation Army store manager Terry Rutherford says they've had the stuff from the show since last fall, but had to keep it a secret until after the series aired.
It's been very fulfilling to be a part of that process and just being part of the hype of the whole filming of it.
She says there were 9 truckloads of furniture, props, and clothes from the series that took them 2 days to haul from a warehouse to the thrift store.
A lot of stuff, a lot of moving. People always say they hate moving. We did it for 2 days straight. And are still doing it.
Ivan Herring says it was a really neat experience to help producers from the show find what they were looking for. And now it will be fun for fans to be able to buy those same items for themselves.
A lot of people are wanting certain things that they like on certain scenes, and they want to see like a lot of some of the people, even their kids, they said was played in certain scenes, and they're looking for things that was on the set.
Originally, the sale was supposed to be this Saturday, but because of a lot of rain is forecasted, they're postponing it to next Saturday. In Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Catherine Gilker, 5 News.
Roll, please. And go with the track. Marker.
All the magic of Hollywood. And the suspense of the Tuscaloosan on location in Fayetteville. The movie is a drama about a man whose tragic past has come to haunt him, and he returns to the comfort of Northwest Arkansas. The director of the movie is a Fort Smith native and says this film is an alternative for the moviegoer.
A good story with interesting characters that has entertainment value and also some high drama to it, which this movie has all those things inherently within it. is what an audience is looking for.
Stauffer says the weather has been cooperating somewhat, but earlier today had to shoot some indoor scenes. This house on Fayetteville's east side is usually the home of Gerald and Jolene Klingeman, but for the past few days it's been a movie set. The filming company moved in and redecorated, but the homeowners here really didn't mind.
If I had only one thing to say, I would say that the people were so terribly considerate and thoughtful and very, very nice people.
One of the main actors is Brad Dillman, with such credits as Sudden Impact and The Way We Were. He feels Northwest Arkansas lends itself to movies.
People whom I've met in the community are unfailingly gracious and kind and thoughtful, and makes our work a whole lot easier.
Stauffer says they'll be filming in Northwest Arkansas until December 19th, that is if the weather cooperates, which he hopes it does to keep the movie on schedule and within the budget. In Fayetteville, Wes Mills for the News People.
He was so used to the character that he would go straight from director into Carl. I mean, it was stunning.
One day, Arkansas actor Billy Bob Thornton was shaving, and he was mad because he wasn't getting the parts in Hollywood that he wanted. So as he was shaving, he started playing around with the voice of a guy he knew in Arkansas, and then we started doing the face, yeah.
And this is how Sling Blade came to be. The story soon followed The Face in the Mirror, first as a one-act play, then a film short that was so well received, Thornton got just over $1 million to produce a full-length film. And for Thornton, there was only one place to shoot it, Benton, Arkansas. And he wanted Arkansas actors, like Natalie Cannerday, who he called, and she thought he was asking her to audition.
And his exact words were, "Oh, Natalie, screw auditioning. I wrote the part with you in mind. It's yours if you want it."
And Natalie wanted it.
Well, I get the script and read it, and it was so good.
To go with Arkansas actors, Hollywood stars like John Ritter, Robert Duvall, as well as country music star Dwight Yoakam and child star Lucas Black. But despite the big names, Arkansas actor Tim Holder, who got a small part as an undertaker, says it was Thornton who stole the show.
He would tell the cameras where to go and where everyone to sit and what to do exactly. And then when the director of photography said action, he was immediately Carl. It wasn't like he took any time at all to get into character. He was just right there. He was so used to the character that he would go straight from director into Carl. I mean, it was stunning.
I picked up a Kaiser blade that was sitting there by the screen door. Some folks called it a sling blade. I call it a Kaiser blade.
There is no doubt that Billy Bob Thornton was fully obsessed with that character in that story.
Jeff Nichols was a student at Central High School when Sling Blade hit theaters in November 1996. 25 years later, he's an award-winning director, responsible for movies like Loving, Take Shelter, and Mud.
Y'all don't need to be afraid of me. I got two ways to protect myself out here, this shirt and this pistol.
My films do not exist without the influence of Billy Bob Thornton and this movie.
It don't matter to me about us losing, does it you?
No, sir.
You're like, this guy did this. He did it in a pure way. It worked, and people responded to it.
Cannerday says she knows why.
Every character in it was, you believed they were real and existed, and you either knew somebody like that or were like that. And so that's why I think it resonates.
And it wasn't long before Holder realized he was in something special.
I started seeing a lot of celebrities talking about it in interviews that had nothing to do with Sling Blade, that people were saying, if you haven't seen Sling Blade, you've got to see it.
Thornton would go on to receive nominations for several Academy Awards and took home the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. Glamour aside, Sling Blade's influence is still being felt 25 years later.
It showed me what was possible from the state of Arkansas. You could not watch that film and have it exist anywhere else. Any other southern state. It exists in Arkansas.
You still see signs of Sling Blade's presence in Benton. For Natalie Cannerday and Tim Holder, it's something that will always stay with them.
It really did change my life in terms of it opened doors for me, and people wanted to hear me audition and wanted to meet me and wanted to hear me read.
It's just an honor to have been a part of something that's that historic, that is that important for Arkansas.
And Sling Blade's impact goes well beyond just its cast. the movie continues to inspire the next generation of Arkansas filmmakers.
What it did was inspire, a kid in high school to come back here and dedicate himself to making movies here.
I'm proud of you.
This is KFSM TV, Channel 5, Fort Smith.